For nearly 80 years, the United States and the West have shaped the global order. They built the financial systems, they set the rules of trade, and they projected power across the globe. But what if that balance of power is shifting right now, because a new alliance is rising and its name is BRICS? BRICS began in 2009 with 5 nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. At first, it was just an economic partnership, but over time it grew into something much bigger. Today BRICS has expanded. Its new members include Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Iran, and Ethiopia. Together these countries represent a coalition that is quietly rewriting the rules of global power, and the momentum is only building. Over 20 more nations, from Argentina to Nigeria to Indonesia, have expressed interest in joining. Headlines tell the story. BRICS is no longer just a talking club, it's becoming a counterweight to the West. The rise of BRICS is best explained through numbers. With its expanded membership, BRICS nations represent nearly half of humanity, more than 3.5 billion people. Their economies combined are worth over $28 trillion. And together, they control vast reserves of oil, gas, rare earth minerals, and agricultural land. Compare this with the G7, the traditional Western power bloc. For decades, the G7 economies were far larger, but the gap is closing. In fact, by purchasing power parity, a measure of real economic size, BRICS has already surpassed the G7. This is a dramatic shift, because global influence often follows two things: population and economic weight, and BRICS has both. China alone is the world's manufacturing powerhouse. India is on track to be the fastest growing major economy. Russia controls immense energy reserves. Brazil is an agricultural superpower. And Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE sit on some of the most important oil and gas supplies on Earth. When you add these strengths together, the picture is clear. BRICS is no longer a secondary player. It is emerging as a serious rival to Western dominance. But why are so many nations eager to join this bloc? The answer can be summed up in one word: frustration. For decades, much of the global South has felt ignored or sidelined by Western-led institutions. The IMF, the World Bank, the WTO, all dominated by the same handful of wealthy nations. Even the UN Security Council gives permanent seats only to the victors of World War II, while countries like India and Brazil remain excluded. This imbalance has left many nations searching for alternatives, and BRICS offers exactly that. Membership brings more than symbolism. It offers access to new trade networks, development financing, and political support outside of the Western orbit. Saudi Arabia and the UAE see BRICS as a way to expand influence beyond oil markets. Egypt and Ethiopia view it as a path to economic partnerships in Africa. And Iran, long isolated by Western sanctions, sees BRICS as a lifeline. Simply put, BRICS gives countries a voice, a platform, and leverage they've never had before. But here's where things get truly transformative. BRICS isn't only about alliances or cooperation. It's challenging the very foundation of Western economic power, the US dollar. Since the end of World War II, the dollar has been the world's reserve currency. Nearly every oil deal, every major trade contract, every international loan, all conducted in dollars. This gave the United States enormous power, control over global transactions, the ability to impose sanctions that cripple entire economies, and, of course, the privilege of printing the very currency the world demanded. But BRICS is pushing back. China and Russia are trading directly in yuan and rubles. India is experimenting with oil payments in rupees. And Saudi Arabia, once the backbone of the petrodollar system, is now openly considering selling oil in other currencies. This trend is called de-dollarization, and while it won't replace the dollar overnight, the momentum is real. If more nations move away from the dollar, America's financial dominance could erode, weakening one of its most powerful tools of global influence. So what exactly makes BRICS such a threat to the existing order? The answer lies in the tools it's building. First, the new development bank. This institution is designed to rival the World Bank, funding infrastructure projects without the strings and conditions Western loans often carry. Second, the contingent reserve arrangement. This is a financial safety net, helping members stabilize their economies in times of crisis without needing the IMF. Third, energy. Between Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Brazil, BRICS nations dominate global oil and gas supplies. By coordinating energy trade, they could reshape the way fuel prices are set worldwide. And finally, technology. China and India are rapidly advancing in artificial intelligence, digital payments, and telecommunications. Imagine a future where BRICS nations build their own digital infrastructure, independent from the West. Bit by bit, BRICS is constructing the foundations of an alternative global system. Still, BRICS is far from perfect. India and China have deep border disputes, with troops facing off in the Himalayas. Russia is isolated by Western sanctions and heavily dependent on China. Brazil and South Africa face internal political instability and slow growth. And ideologically, the group couldn't be more diverse. A democracy like India, a communist state like China, an Islamic republic like Iran, and monarchies like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. These differences create tension. They make collective action harder. And they raise the question, can BRICS act as a unified bloc, or will it fracture under its own contradictions? So what does all of this mean for the rest of the world? We may be entering an age of multipolarity, a world with many power centers, instead of just one. Global trade routes are shifting. Technology standards are splitting between Chinese-led systems and Western ones. Oil and gas are flowing through new pipelines that bypass traditional Western networks. And infrastructure megaprojects like China's Belt and Road Initiative are tying regions closer to BRICS economies. This doesn't mean the West disappears, but it does mean the West may no longer dominate. Instead, it will compete, negotiate, and compromise in ways it hasn't for decades. For some, this is exciting, a fair balance of power. For others, it's unsettling, a more unstable world. The old world order took decades to build. The new one may rise far more quickly than anyone expects. So the question remains, is BRICS truly building a new world order? Or is this just another global power struggle destined to burn out? What do you think? Are we witnessing history in the making, or will Western dominance remain the defining force of our time? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive